Welcome friends to my YouTube channel. Today I will discuss a topic, Hilda Taba model of curriculum development. Hilda Taba was a very famous educationist, was experienced as an architect, a curriculum theorist, a curriculum reformer, as well as a teacher educator who conducted so many experiments in the field of education, especially in the field of curriculum. The basic assumption of Taba are the following. She considered learning as a dynamic, interactive phenomenon. Then, another aspect, education for democracy is critical. Though she developed her theory in the line of product approach to curriculum, she stood up for democratic principles. So, our education should develop democratic principles in learners. So, she proposed dynamic interactions within the classroom. She also insisted that education had to provide conceptually sound curriculum, organized and taught effectively, had to be evaluated properly. So, three aspects she stressed about curriculum, such as it should be conceptually sound, properly organized, and effectively taught. Then it shall be properly evaluated. So, such elements should be incorporated in a curriculum. And Taba's approach is well known in the name as grassroots approach. It is an inductive approach, on contrary to Taylor's deductive approach. Taba's approach is termed as an inductive approach, which is commonly named as grassroots approach. Then another assumption regarding curriculum and education is function of education is to let people learn to think. So that's another major assumption. The function of education is to let people learn to think. So learning to think is the function of education according to Hilda Taba. Dynamic interaction, sequential questions, and significant content lead to critical thinking. That's another postulation of Taba. Dynamic interactions within the classroom and sequential questions based on content and significant content lead to critical thinking. So, critical thinking should be developed in children, in learners, and teachers as well as teacher educators has to set a stage for proper interaction, clarification questions on the basis of a sound content in classrooms. That's another proposal. Then she stressed the significance of experiential learning. So she may be the first curriculum theorist who stressed on the significance of experiential learning, because she has some experience in working with Kilpatrick and John Dewey, etc. So these are the some of the basic assumptions of Hilda Taba. Learning as a dynamic, interactive process. Education for democracy is critical. Education had to provide conceptually sound curriculum, organized and taught effectively, had to be evaluated properly. Then her approach, inductive approach, known as grassroots approach. Function of education is to let people learn to think, dynamic interaction, sequential questions, and significant content led to critical thinking, and there should be an need of experiential learning. Now let us see the steps in curriculum development. It's a 7-step process proposed by Taba. The first step is diagnosis of needs. Second one is formulation of objectives. It's somewhat similar to Taylor first stage or first question. Formulation of objectives, then selecting content, organizing content as the fourth step, selecting learning experience, organizing learning experience, determining what to evaluate, and ways and means of doing it. So these are the 7 steps in the model for curriculum development proposed by Taba. So it begins with diagnosis of needs of learners. Learners needs to be diagnosed as the first step of curriculum development. That's why it is called as grassroots approach, because starting from the roots, learners. So what are their needs, what are their interests, etc. Then objectives should be formed, content should be selected and organized, learning experience should be selected and organized, and determining as the 7th step, determining what to evaluate and ways and means of doing it. Now let us see each of these steps in detail. Diagnosis of needs. That's the first step we already seen. So the purpose of need diagnosis is to refine the curriculum. Refining the curriculum according to with respect to various demands. So in order to diagnose needs, we need to consult the major stakeholders. When we talk about major stakeholders of any curriculum, the first and foremost group will be students, learners themselves, then teachers, parents, experts in the field of curriculum development or in subject area, as well as policy makers. So this group of people shall be consulted as the major stakeholders to diagnose needs for a curriculum or a curriculum refinement or a curriculum revision. Then another source can be research findings. There are plenty of research is progressing and already conducted in different aspects of curriculum, and that can be the findings of various research can be taken as a source for diagnosing the needs for a new curriculum or a curricular change. Then analysis of existing curriculum. The existing curriculum shall be analyzed for finding out the weaknesses or by finding out the shortcomings of that curriculum. That's another source or another activity. The inventions and discoveries in relevant subject areas. So new knowledge will be generated as a result of new inventions that shall be incorporated. So those in respective disciplines is another source of need for curricular revision. Then naturally techno-pedagogical advancements in the field of technology as well as pedagogy, which shall be incorporated properly in the curriculum. Then changes in relevant field or industry. So naturally in the course of human development there shall be development in the respective fields. So for example in teaching itself, it occurring so many changes day by day regarding teaching methods, techniques, tools, teaching resources, learning experiences, etc. So that changes in the respective field as well as in the industrial sector in relation to the curriculum or in the discipline of the curriculum. So that also shall be taken to diagnose the needs for a curriculum. So these are the major aspects for refining a curriculum by diagnosing the essential needs. So consulting stakeholders, findings of research, analysis of existing curriculum, inventions, techno-pedagogical advancements, changes in field, etc. shall be the basis for diagnosis. So next we shall see the second step proposed by Taba, formulating objectives. So it's a step somewhat similar to that is Taylor's proposal, educational purposes of school. He wrote like that, he proposed like that. So objectives or outcomes, that is the second step, to state objectives or outcomes of the expected outcomes of the curriculum, and that objectives shall be purposeful, should be specific in with regard to level of learner, depth of content, etc. So learners can be of different levels. So the objective shall be specific to specific level of learners, especially learners' level of development and the level in which they are studying, etc., as well as the complexity of content. That also should be taken into consideration while formulating objectives. And Taba especially proposed 4 categories of objectives. So the categories include basic knowledge, thinking skills, attitudes, and academic skills. So these 4 areas, objectives shall be from these 4 areas such as basic knowledge, thinking skills, attitudes, and academic skills. And another aspect with respect to objectives is that it should be testable. Objectives should be testable. So we should not formulate objective of any kind, but that objective shall be attainable as well as measurable. Means we have to assess the how far this objective is attained or how far this objective is attained by a learner. Achievement, or with respect to learner's achievement, it should be testable. So now we pass on to next step. Step number 3 of curriculum development, selecting content. So with regard to content, Taba insisted on significant content. What is significant content? That's a very, very critical proposal by Taba. Not a list of topics, but the nature of topic. What type of content shall be included in the curriculum? That is very, very critical according to Taba. So in content, as we said in other discussions, content does not confine to topics only in a curriculum, but various activities, interactions, evaluation, etc. within a curriculum can be termed as a curriculum content. Not only the topics or subjects, but other activities also. So all such inclusions, the theoretical, practical, assessing, whatever inclusions in a curriculum, that should be significant in nature. Say for example, a topic, if we include a topic on a disease, we usually see that the content regarding that topic naturally included the name of the pathogen, the disease causing organism, who invented it, then what is its scientific name, so and so. Such kind of descriptions, such kind of topics are included in content. But actually what is significant is how these diseases can be prevented, or what are the basic symptoms, and how we can prevent such diseases. That is most important than describing the technical things in a curriculum. So in such a way that the content selected for a curriculum shall be significant in all respects. Then she also insisted for learning concepts. So the essential concepts shall be identified. Then she proposed content in the form of questions. So significant or strategic or sequential questions are considered as highly important in a dynamic interaction. So there shall be questions from the part of learners, and they shall be clarified properly. Then appropriate strategies, that also considered or incorporated as content by Hilda Taba. So as a next step, we see organization of content in curriculum. So we already told that content is shall be arranged in the form of concepts, as concept learning in an experiential way is proposed by Taba. So while organizing content, it shall be based on the developmental level as well as interest of learners. So two main things according to Taba shall be considered for organizing content, such as developmental level of learners as well as their interest. And you may be familiar with the pattern of organizing content in curriculum, such as the basic feature of organizing content is its logical sequencing. So in any curriculum for any level, that logical sequencing is highly significant. And in addition to that, we naturally we follow principles such as simple to complex, known to unknown, concrete to abstract, patterns, etc. So these are the some elements proposed by Taba with regard to organizing content in a curriculum. Now, let us see selecting learning experiences. So that's another process, selecting learning experiences. Learning experiences shall be specific to objectives and its categories. So Taba proposed 4 categories of knowledge, and she insisted that the experiences shall be specific to objectives belong to the 4 categories. Then the learning experience shall facilitate interaction between learner and content. So it should be integrated properly. The experiences shall be a link between learner and content, because learner can learn properly, or learner can analyze the content using the experiences. So the experience shall be so specific. Appropriate instructional strategies shall be selected. So in learning experience, Taba incorporated instructional strategies also. So appropriate instructional strategy to facilitate proper learning. That also mentioned by Taba. Then there shall be variety in experiences, because our classrooms are mixed ability, heterogeneous classrooms. Learners of different ability group will be present in a class. So, of course, there shall be a variety in experiences. Then it should be original in nature, life-centered. There shall be familiarity. Experiences shall have some familiarity to learners. Then it should be specific to objectives, as we said earlier. Then there should be a compulsory emotional element with learning experiences, because an emotional change only brings up a permanent learning. So an emotional element also shall be there while selecting learning experiences. Now we shall see organizing learning experience. How to organize. So we have already gone through various steps, and now already selected learning experience, and now how to organize it properly. So sequence of content, that is the first thing, how we plan to sequence the content within a curriculum. Then another aspect Taba proposed is learner characteristics. So the characteristics of learners, the psychological basis of learners, their levels. Then integration of learning experience with content, that's another aspect, as well as a continuity. The experience should have a continuity, because it should be linked properly with other experiences and with knowledge that may come in future. So these aspects shall be considered while organizing learning experiences, such as sequence of content, learner characteristics, integration, and continuity. So the 7th steps, or the last step proposed by Taba, determining what to evaluate and ways and means of doing it. So that's a comparatively a lengthy statement, determining what to evaluate and ways and means of doing it. So what actually do we evaluate from learners and what ways or what procedure we follow for that. So that's the seventh step. So naturally, as per the nature of Taba's theory proposal, the outcomes or objectives shall be evaluated, and the extent of this achievement of or attainment of the outcomes or objectives, she already proposed 4 categories of objectives. So attainment of these specific objectives shall be evaluated, and we shall determine the proper procedure, appropriate procedure. So that's also very important. We could not assess all objectives or all outcomes through an achievement test. So we have to use a variety of tools, a variety of techniques, different procedure for comprehensive evaluation. So she proposed a comprehensive evaluation. We have to evaluate according to the characteristics of learners as well as with respect to nature of objectives. So proper techniques and proper procedure, appropriate tools, etc. are required. So as the last step of curriculum, the developer should identify what all objectives, what all things should be evaluated by using what tools and what technique, by following which procedure. So these are the 7 steps model proposed by Taba, and the strong points of her model are: the model is focused on open-ended questions. So there is a scope for critical thinking, as we discussed earlier. So it stimulates higher order thinking, additional input for the gifted. That's another advantage, and it also said as a criticism to Taba's model that there is a little scope for normal or slow learners. That's a criticism with respect to that point. Then richness of experience, that's another strong point of Taba's model, because she has enormous experience in the field of education, and especially in the field of curriculum. She experimented for long decades with respect to curriculum, and thus he insisted the importance of experiences in learning. So these are the strong points of Taba's model. The limitations, naturally, the difficult for heterogeneous classroom and non-gifted students, less importance to context. Taba's model also, as in the case of Taylor model, it also gave less emphasis to context, may not be suitable for all subjects. So though it's a very detailed model, it may not be applicable for all subjects. So we are at the end of this discussion. We have gone through the grassroots approach and inductive approach to curriculum development in the line of product theory, and she is assisting Taylor, and elaborated Taylor's model of curriculum development into a 7-step detailed process. All steps are considered as a process, not as an end, as diagnosing needs, then formulating objectives, selecting content, organizing content, selecting learning experience, organizing learning experience, and identifying the what to evaluate and ways and means of doing it. So through these 7 steps, Taba suggested a very strong foundation for a product-based curriculum. So that's the end. Thanks for watching.